Hello, my name is John, and today I'm going to go over my top 20 books of the year that I read. So not books that came out in 2025, but just books that I read in 2025. And why is it top 20? Well, I was originally going to do a top 5, but it turns out I had more than five-star books this year. And then I was going to do a top 10, but it turns out I didn't have 10 5-star books this year. So I was thinking, what could I do? Let's throw in all the 4.5-star books, because they deserve praise too. And when I threw in all the 4.5 and all the 5-star books, which in my rating system is either a perfect book or a near perfect book, it ended up being exactly 20. Now I have read so far this year. I've read 163 books. So out of the 163, 20 of them have either been 4.5 or 5 stars. I'm going to go in order from my least favorite to favorite of those 20, and just talk about each one a little bit. Okay, at number 20 is The Broken Kingdoms by N.K. Jemisin. This is her first series. The series title is called The Inheritance Trilogy, and this is the second book in that series, which I gave 4.5 stars to. I loved the first book in the series, 100,000 Kingdoms. So I was expecting the second book to be a continuation of that, and it's really not. This series acts kind of as like 3 standalones, but they all connect in different ways. So this one has a different set of characters, although some of the characters in the first book make an appearance in it, and it takes place like 10 years after the first. But the events of the first book do affect the second book and the third book. So it really is a trilogy, even though they kind of can be read separately because they're separate characters, but it's still definitely a trilogy. And what I would say is that the second book, when I found out it was different characters, I was a little concerned that I wasn't going to like it as much, but I still loved it. The second book is so good. It has this sort of like cult feel to it, as our main protagonist sort of intermingles with a cult. We get the god from the first book. After he falls, we get to see his reaction to it and how he's dealing with life. And this book focuses more on the gods in the first book, really the demigods, the gods' children. And we get to see how they are living and whose side they took after the end of the first book. And yeah, it just has a really great ending. It's heartwarming but also like tragic in its own way. The action's really good. The world building is amazing, and this is something that needs to be said. N.K. Jemisin, I think, has the most beautiful prose of any like active fantasy writer. Her prose is just amazing, and it stays going great in this one too. And I just don't hear anybody talk about this trilogy that much. Like, all I ever hear people talk about is the Broken Earth trilogy by N.K. Jemisin, which I'm sure is great. I haven't gotten to it yet, but the Inheritance trilogy deserves more love. It's awesome, and it is very epic fantasy. Okay, number 19 is Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros. This is probably the most selling fantasy book of the year. I think it's actually one of the most selling fantasy books of the last 30 years. It's insane how much this book sold when it came out. And it initially got great reviews, but since it's cooled down, people have sort of started to hate on this series and this book in particular. I disagree. I gave this 4.5 stars when it came out. Now, as I got farther away from it, I do think this is probably more of a 4-star read, but I did give it 4.5 at the time, which is a near perfect book. This is the most epic fantasy of the 3 books in the series. The first book is sort of like a Harry Potter clone almost for adults. Harry Potter for adults is what I would call Fourth Wing. And then Iron Flame is like half Harry Potter, half like epic fantasy. And then this one's just like a full-on epic fantasy. I really enjoyed my time in this book. I personally liked all the island hopping. I liked the world building here. I thought the end had like a really good cliffhanger, even though I do think I know what's going to happen in the next book. I still thought the cliffhanger was very, very good. I personally enjoy the main character. I thought it was time to get away from the school element of it, and they did a good job with it here. I just really liked a lot about this book. I thought it was quick-paced. I know the island hopping was a bit repetitive, but I was always enjoying the characters that were introduced via the eye hopping, and I think the magic here is just really good. And again, I just think these books are very fun. They're not like masterpieces of fantasy or world building or anything, but they are very fun, especially the dragons. The dragons are just a blast, and I think the dragons stayed a blast in this book. Okay, at number 18 is a recent read I also gave 4.5 stars to. It is Letters from Father Christmas by J.R.R. Tolkien. This book does not get talked about enough. It's amazing. Now, I did feel kind of awkward reading it, which is the only reason I didn't give it 5 stars, because this is not a book. Like, J.R.R. Tolkien never meant for this to be read by us. These are letters to his children, where he's, like, basically cosplaying as Santa Claus. or Father Christmas, from the years 1920 to 1943. And I just think it's a really fascinating book. I'm not going to talk about it too much because I actually plan on doing a full review for this book later on this month. But just let me say, J.R.R. Tolkien goes full on world building. So if you love J.R.R. Tolkien's world building from The Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit, you get like a miniature version of that, except it's the North Pole and Santa Claus and Christmas. So yeah, it's awesome, and it includes a bunch of J.R.R. Tolkien's own art that he included with his letters to his children. So yeah, the art is fabulous and fun to look at. Some of the letters are shorter than others. Others are longer. You can tell which years he had more time in, which years he was feeling down about. But just really, really great classic Tolkien. And this is actually probably my third favorite Tolkien book after The Hobbit and The Two Towers. I really enjoyed my time here. And you can read it in 90 minutes to 2 hours. Like, it's very short. It's only like 100 pages. It's basically 23 different letters. Okay, number 17 is another 4.5-star book for me. That is The Dragon Republic by R.F. Kuang. This is the second book in the Poppy War. I thought this was a step up from the Poppy War. It did everything that I liked about the Poppy War, but way better. From front to back, it's just a quick-paced book that nails like basically every chapter. I thought our main character, was the most interesting in this book than she is in like book 3. She's not very interesting. Book 3 is a mess, actually. I really have a lot of problems with book 3. And book 1 is a little bit of an unbalanced book where the first part's just a lot better than the second part. But this is not the case here. It's full on like a war book almost, but you get political machinations, you get a lot of good action, you get a lot of good magic and world building. And the character development here is top notch. I think every character delivers on some sort of level. And we get like a mini cliffhanger here that is quite good. So yeah, this is a 4.5-star read for me. I love this book front to back, basically. Okay, at number 16 is House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J. Maas. This is the first book in the Crescent City series trilogy. I was concerned about this book going in because it's just so long, and I was like, oh, God, I don't know if I'm gonna like this because it's an urban fantasy, and I'm not as versed on urban fantasy as I am at other subgenres of fantasy. But I gave it a shot, and the first 100 pages of this book is breakneck action with a crazy twist. And then the last 200 pages is the best climax I've read this year. Even better than Oathbringer. Love the climax of this book. This is by far Sarah J. Maas's best climax. And she's had some really good ones, but this is definitely her best one. I do think the middle of this book, there's about 500-ish pages or 400-ish pages where the pacing does slow down. It's intentional slowdown, but it's moving at a methodical pace, and that does hurt it a little bit. The middle of this book is not as strong as the opening and the closing. The opening and closing of this book is 5-star worthy. The middle of this book's probably about a 4-star read or even like a 3.5. But overall, I gave this 4.5 stars. It's near perfect, and it's a great example of what you can do with urban fantasy. And I think the magic system here is actually really, really good. So there's that as well. And the character work is perfect. Not perfect, but near perfect. The character work here is really, really strong, as it is in most of Sarah J. Maas's books. Okay, number 15 is a book that I actually don't own the physical copy of. I only own it on my Kindle, but it's another 4.5-star read for me. It is The Knight and the Moth by Rachel Gillig. It was her new book this year for her new duology. It's the first book in that, obviously, duology. And yeah, 4.5 stars. Great book. It's basically One Dark Window, but with like a little bit more romance, is how I would describe it. Once again, she hits her strengths as a writer. The pacing, which is just fabulous at. The setting, she's the best setting writer that I've ever read. I love the way she does setting. Like, the setting is always very gothic and sort of, you can see the aesthetic in your head. Like, she's very, very good at like making a world feel alive, and she nails it here, like out of the park. Like, the setting in this book is probably the best part of the book, and it rules. The character work here, fabulous, like really, really good. And then she does sort of Brandon Sanderson-esque magic systems, which they're hard magic systems that are very detailed and coded. And I love the magic system here with the omens and the dreams and the magical artifacts. They all really work. And then, of course, you get a witty side character, like you got in One Dark Window. One Dark Window, you got the Nightmare, who's sort of like grumpy and angry and scary. And this one, you got the Stone Gargoyle, Bartholomew, Mew, who is just hilarious. Just one of my favorite characters I read this year. Just so hilarious, but not like over the top hilarious, but like he is going to make you laugh. Such a great character. And then of course you get a cliffhanger, and the cliffhanger here is perfect. It's so good. So yeah, nothing to really complain about this book. It's a 4.5-star read, and you're perfect for me. Rachel Gill continues to be one of my favorite authors, especially like newer authors. She has not had a miss yet with me. Okay, number 14, we get our first Wheel of Time book. It's not going to be the last on this list. It is The Shadow Rising by Robert Jordan. This is the 4th entry into the Wheel of Time series. I love this book. It's I think like if you just take subjectivity out of it, it's the best book he's ever written. But for me, there was one part that kind of dragged, and I fully admit it's just a me thing. Like the Viridian part where Rand is seeing visions of the past of the Aiel and how they're all like Way of the Leaf. That part just didn't land for me in the book. Like the consequences of it landed for me, but the way it was written just felt like it was deliberately slowed down the pace to a point where it dragged a little bit. I wish that chapter was kind of split up throughout like multiple different parts of the book instead of we just get it all at once, because it's like a really, really long chapter. But I fully admit that I'm pretty much alone on that, and people love that chapter, and it's people's favorite in the Wheel of Time universe. And I do admit that it's a great plotting device. Like it was perfect. It needed to be there. I just wish it was written a little bit differently. But other than that, this book was beyond perfection for me. The Two Rivers arc with Perrin and Fael is a top 5, maybe top 7 Wheel of Time arc for me. I love that arc. It's so good in this book. I love the Aiel and how we get to explore more of them in this book with Rand and Egwene. I love the end of this book where Rand is declared the Caracom, or however the Aiel describe it, basically what they call the Dragon Reborn. So good. This book has a shocking moment in the White Tower, like shocking. That was beyond great. It's got a great Nynaeve, Elaine arc in Tanchico. I think they're in Tanchico in this book. Perfect. Yeah, this book has so much that's great about it, and I think it's definitely, like, if just taking subjectivity out of it, probably the best book he's written front to back. It is quite chunky, but like, there's everything about this book is top level. So yeah, that's my thoughts on The Shadow Rising. Okay, number 13 is another 4.5-star read. That is Piranesi by Susanna Clarke. I don't know what to say about this book. It's great. It's near perfect. The character of Piranesi might be my favorite character I read this year. That's not true. Egwene's my favorite character I read this year for sure, but he's in the contention for top 2 or top 3 for sure. Like, just such a easy to root for protagonist. Like, really, really easy to root for. I think she did a great job with that. I love the world here. This is another book where the setting is almost like its own character, the labyrinth with the water in it, and it's like feels alive and perfect, but also haunting in a way. I love the antagonist. I think he's such a good antagonist. Like the other, I think his name is. I actually can't remember if he has a real name or not. But yeah, the antagonist was really, really good. I thought the climax of this book was perfect, like really, really perfect. This book doesn't have much of a plot, which is the reason it's only a 4.5-star read instead of a 5-star read. But the character work and the setting and the climax make up for it. And I love the questions this book asks. So yeah, if you really are looking for like a sort of atmospheric fantasy that has like a lovable protagonist, read Piranesi. And I shouldn't even hype it. Everybody that reads fantasy on BookTube knows of Piranesi. Like, this book is amazing, and I was glad to see it delivered for me. Okay, at number 12 is The Tombs of Atuin by Ursula K. Le Guin. This is the second book in the Earthsea Cycle series. I thought it was a big step up from book 1. I see online this is not people's favorite, or like even like one of their favorites in the Earthsea Cycle series, and I don't get it. To me, this one's by far the best book in the Earthsea Cycle. Don't get me wrong. I love book 4, love book 6. I think book 5 is very good too, but definitely of the original trilogy and of the whole series, this is my favorite. I think Ursula K. Le Guin is at her best when she's writing about the sexes and sort of feminism and discrimination, and that's what this book is about. And she hits the nail on the head in the theming in this book. The theming in this book is really, really powerful, and I think our protagonist is a very, very good protagonist. But don't get me wrong, the plotting in this book is really great. It's shorter, so the pacing here is very good, I think. And I just love the plotting of this book. It's structured really well. It's like a 3-act movie almost, and I think she nails it. Yeah, I can't speak about this book enough. Again, it was courageous of her to make the main character of this book not Jeb from the first book, like the main character from the first book, who is like the main character of the OC Cycle series. He's not the main character of this book. I thought that was very like kind of a courageous decision, and it worked out really well. Okay, number 11 is another book I don't own. I read it on my Kindle. That is Rule of Wolves by Leigh Bardugo. This is the last book currently that is in the Grishaverse, and it's the last book in the King of Stars duology, which is the closing series in the Grishaverse. I thought this book hit the nail on the head basically in everything it wanted to do. I thought all three of our main characters got like really good ends. Nikolai and Zoya especially, but even the other main character had like a really great arc. So like you had 3 arcs going on in this book, and I thought all 3 arcs were like perfect. I thought the action here, the final battle, was really, really, really strong. And I loved that the conclusion, like at the post-final battle, the way everything wraps up at the end. I think it was like a perfect way to end the series. And if I was Leigh Bardugo, I would not write any more books in the Grishaverse, because I do think this is like just a perfect way to end the series. I know she has a short story coming out, but that doesn't really count. But like in terms of full-length novels, I don't think she needs to write another one in the Grishaverse. I thought it ended like in a perfect way with like all the characters where they should be. Now, if I had any criticism of this book, it would be that I don't think the Dark One had to come back. Or the Darkling, sorry, not the Dark One. Dark One's from Wheel Time. I don't think the Darkling had to come back. But he did have like a nice arc in this book. So I can't criticize it too much, but it wasn't my favorite decision. I thought it kind of tarnished what she did in Shadow and Bone a little bit. I thought she could have done this book in a very similar fashion without the Darkling. Okay, we're going actually back-to-back Grishaverse. I actually own the physical copy of this one. Crooked Kingdom at number 10. I think this book is near perfect. Like, I love this book. It's my favorite heist story that I've ever read, even more than Six of Crows, even more than Mistborn and the Final Empire. I think this one really works. Don't get me wrong, those 2 books really work too. Those 2 books both got 4 stars for me, but this one was even better. The stakes were ratcheted up even higher. It had like an excellent conclusion. And I was somebody who did not like that one of the main characters, one of the 6, Matthias, dies, because he died after the climax, and to me that just felt very unfair. But the farther I got away from it, I actually really enjoyed that decision. Like it was a really good decision. It set up his partner for the next duology in like a great way. So yeah, the plotting of this book was just, I can't speak about it enough. It's great, and I love that we got some Shadow and Bone characters appearing in this book too. I thought that really worked. Yeah, there's just not anything to hate about this book. It's really chunky, and it doesn't feel chunky. So I don't know what to say. And if you're looking for like a great heist story, you do have to read Six Crows before you read it, but make sure you read this one. If you're worried about like, oh, can the next book live up to Six Crows? Yes, it can. And in my opinion, lives up to it even better. Okay, at number 9 is going to be the first book in the Inheritance trilogy, 100,000 Kingdoms by N.K. Jemisin. Now, I talked about the Broken Kingdom earlier in this video. This is the first book in the trilogy, and I loved it. I loved it so much I almost wish it was a standalone, because it would probably be my 3rd favorite standalone of all time. Like this book is near perfect. It's a little bit long, but other than that, it's perfect. The world building here, this is one of my favorite world building books of all time. I love the world building of this book. The climax here is awesome. The character work here is really, really, really strong, especially the gods, but even like our main protagonist is just like a really strong protagonist. I thought the theming here was great. And this was the first N.K. Jemisin book I ever read, so I do have to say, this is the first I was ever introduced to a prose, and I was just blown away by how like great it was, but also how easy to read it was. Because sometimes you get like these authors with great prose that are not like super easy to read, like J.R.R. Tolkien, for example. Not the case here. Easy to read, but you can still tell the prose is just like otherworldly great. Yeah. So yeah, I can't recommend this series enough. I don't think anybody to ever talk about it, really, basically ever. And I think it's just like great epic fantasy. And from my understanding, the Broken Earth series, while it is a fantasy, it isn't really epic fantasy. This is definitely epic fantasy, and I think everybody should read it if you like epic fantasy. It's so good. Okay, number 8 is The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. It's the first book in the Stormlight Archive. What I consider the series is like the epic fantasy series of the 2010s/2020s. Like kind of how The Wheel of Time was the epic fantasy series of the 90s and the and like the early 2000s. Yeah, this is just as much epic fantasy as you can pack into a book as possible. So it's really chunky, but it's just so much epic fantasy, and it's so good. The world building here is awesome. The magic system here is great. The action here is just really, really good. The character work here is top level. So there's why it's 8 and not higher. This is the first 5-star book in the list, by the way. So I did give this one 5 stars. Why it's at number 8 and not higher in the 5-star ranks is because I think the pacing wise, this is the worst paced of the, not the worst paced. This is the second worst paced of the Stormlight Archive books, but it almost doesn't matter because the last half of this book is just breakneck action with so many good twists and turns. I can't speak better enough, and you can just tell what this book is by the cover. This is reminiscent of like those 80s, 90s fantasy covers, just with like a little bit different color aspects. Yeah, just great. I can't recommend it enough. It's a great start to the series. The last half of the book is just probably like a 6-star book. So, yeah, but the first half's probably like a 4-star book. So it does take a while to get going, but it's more than makes up for it. Okay, number 7 is my second favorite fantasy standalone of all time. It's The Snow Child by Eowyn Ivey. This is based on the Russian fairy tale, which is also called The Snow Child. But obviously this is longer and in prose form. Now, I will say this about this book. It's barely a fantasy. It's low fantasy. It does take place in our world. It takes place in Alaska. But it's also a low fantasy in the fact that there's just like not really magic in it. There is. Now, don't get me wrong, there is. But we don't even know at the end of the book if that magic is real or not. The book leaves you with a question. But not in like a malicious way. It leaves it in a good way. I don't usually love when books don't like answer their own questions at the end. This book doesn't, but it does leave you like hints of what it could be, and I think it does a really great job of that. I love the main characters in this book, both the mother, the husband, and the wife, the husband, and the Snow Child himself. I think all 3 of them are just fabulous characters, like so fabulous. I love the setting of this book. It feels alive and magical. It's, Alaska. It feels isolating, but not in like a terrible way. Yeah, just so many good things about this book. I love the cover. It's one of my favorite covers of all time. I think her prose is just very easy to read. I think the pacing here is great. Yeah, I love this book a lot. Like, a lot. Easy 5 stars for me. Just, the end of this book is so good. Like, I can't even describe how great the end of this book is. It's perfect. It's just perfect. That's all I gotta say about it. It's perfect. And if you love a good setting, this is for you. And it's a great winter read, too. So now would be like a perfect time to read it. Okay, number 6 is Emily Wilde's Compendium of Lost Tales by Heather Fawcett. This book actually came out this year, 2025. It's one of 2 books on this list that came out in 2025. It's the closing book in the Emily Wilde series, which is one of my favorite series of all time. And I thought it closed out everything in a perfect way. Like a perfect way. On top of that, I like that this book is a little bit different from the first 2 books, even though, again, I love the first 2 books. I like that this book explores more of the Feylands. So this book, the first 2 books, like take place on the outskirts of the Feylands. It's more like, what are the Feylands like? This book, it's like, nope, we get to fully explore the Feylands. And I thought that was perfect. It was a bit more like an epic fantasy, but not really an epic fantasy, but it had more epic stakes to it. And yeah, just really, really loved it. Loved the secondary world aspect of it. Just really good. Again, Emily Wilde is such a great character, and so is Wendell, who's the other main character. Just perfect. I love the series so much, and I love it had the right amount of cameos from the other 2 books in it, and the right amount of new stuff in it, and just like the perfect ending to the series. Like I can't explain. Like when a book series nails the ending, I love it, and this book series did that. So yeah, this is one of my favorite series ending books of all time. All right, at number 5, we got our second Stormlight Archive entry, Rhythm of War by Brandon Sanderson. This is a lot of people's least favorite Stormlight Archive book, and I just heavily, I can say this again, heavily disagree. I love this book. All like 3 of arcs I thought were just like fabulous. But really, there's 4 arcs, but 2 of them kind of combined. So you got the Tower arc with Navani and Kaladin, and I thought that arc was awesome. Brandon Sanderson, he was inspired by Die Hard when he made it, and perhaps he was, but it doesn't really matter. It's so good. Like, I love that arc. I love the science behind it, and I love how Kaladin is sort of overcoming his feelings here, and I loved sort of the climax of that arc. And then you got my favorite character, Shallan, who is stuck in Shadesmar with Aladdin. It was so good. Like the Shadesmar arc might be my favorite arc of the series. I love that arc. I love the resolution of that arc in this book. So great. And then you got Dalinar's arc, which I will admit is not that great. But it's good enough. It's not terrible. It's good enough, and it has like a great ending that sets up the last book in a really perfect way. I think this book just delivers on everything it tried to do. And I get why some people may not like it, because it does feel a bit like filler at times, like some of these arcs. But the arcs themselves are great, and I love the character work that it was involved in these arcs. So yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed my time in Rhythm of War. Like, I enjoyed Rhythm of War a lot more than I enjoyed Oathbringer. Okay, number 4 is a book that I actually have a full review for on this channel, so I'm not going to talk about it too much, but it just recently came out. It's Empire of the Dawn by Jay Kristoff, the closing book in the Empire of the Vampire series. I will link that full review down below, but just know I love that book, and I fully admit that it can be controversial. The ending can be controversial, and there's going to be a lot of people that don't love the ending. I personally don't fall in that camp. I loved it, and I love the way we got to the ending, and I love the characters, and it's one of my favorite conclusion in a series, closing book in a series of all time. Like, I love that book. Okay, number 3, we are finally getting back to the Wheel of Time world. We got Fires of Heaven by Robert Jordan, the 5th entry into the Wheel of Time series. I don't know what to say about this book other than I think it's very underrated. Like, I don't hear people talk about Fires of Heaven enough. I think it has 3 climaxes, and all 3 climaxes deliver. Like, the Lanfear Rand fight delivers. The big battle of Chiron, I don't know how you say its name, delivers. Then the battle with Raven versus Rand and Nynaeve and Moghedien delivers. I thought the implications setting up book 6 was just perfect. I think every character in this book had like a great arc. Just every character. And this book doesn't have Perrin in it, but it allowed Robert Jordan to micro focus on all the other characters without spreading himself too thin. And I thought that was like actually played to his benefit here. Like, I thought it really worked. I don't know what to say. I love this book a lot, and this is really the start of the Saladar arc. It ratchets up more in book 6, but the Saladar arc kind of starts in this book, and yeah, I love that arc. It's arguably my favorite in the series. So yeah, just can't speak enough about Fires of Heaven. I think for me, this is where Wheel of Time like really gets amazing. Shadow Rising is really, but like I was like hooked in Fires of Heaven. Okay, number 2 is arguably the best fantasy book of all time. I think it might even have the highest fantasy book score on Goodreads of all time. It's definitely in the top 5 or so. And that would be Words of Radiance by Brandon Sanderson, the second book in the Stormlight Archive. This book is just Way of Kings on steroids. It's Way of Kings, but everything's better about it. Like, legitimately everything. It has an amazing like one-on-one duel climax at the end. It has Shallan's backstory. Shallan's my favorite character, and I think Shallan's backstory, even if she wasn't my favorite character, would be my favorite. I think it's the best backstory of anybody in the series. Those chapters rule. So many twists and turns. I thought all 3 characters, Kaladin, Shallan, and Dalinar, get like a lot of shine in this book, and they all work out really well. And again, the climax is just amazing. So yeah, can't speak about Words of Radiance enough. I shouldn't have to speak about Words of Radiance enough. Everybody knows Words of Radiance. This book is great. If you just liked Way of Kings, but you didn't love it, and you think the series is a little bit too long, so maybe I shouldn't read the next one, just try to give Words of Radiance a chance, because I think it's objectively, and I think the best book in the series, and I think it's like most people's favorite. Okay, and then number 1, for me, my favorite book that I read in 2025, Knife of Dreams by Robert Jordan. This is the 11th book in the Wheel of Time series. It is the last Wheel of Time book that Robert Jordan wrote before he passed away. I love this book so much. I think like this is one of my favorite books of this. Not even my favorite book of this year. It's just one of my favorite books I've ever read. This book wraps up 3 arcs that he had been building for literally, counting this book, 4 books. So like he set up these arcs in Path of Daggers, and then you had Winter's Heart, continue it, and then you had Crossroads of Twilight, and then they finally come to a conclusion in Knife of Dreams, and that is Fael's arc, where she's basically enslaved by the Shido Aiel. You got Perrin's arc where he's trying to like rescue her, and you have Elaine's arc trying to become the Queen of Andor. And I thought he nailed all three of those conclusions. All three of those arcs wrapped up in like really 10 out of 10 fabulous ways. And then you have Rand in this book who goes through like this traumatic injury, and it's so perfect, like just beyond perfect what he did with Rand. He's not in this book as much as he's in other books, but the stuff he isn't in this book is so good and so impactful for the rest of the series. And then you got Matt's arc with Tuon in this book, continuing from where we left off in Crossroads of Twilight, and that stuff's really interesting and really great. And then you got Egwene's arc in this book, and she really is only in like one chapter plus the prologue. She's in the prologue a lot, but that chapter is Honey in the Tea, where she's imprisoned in the White Tower, and that's my favorite chapter in the series. One of my favorite fantasy chapters of all time. It's beyond perfection. That chapter is so good and speaks to so much power, how a person can get power through pain. Just so perfect. Such great writing. This book is just everything hit for me in this book. Just everything. And he set up the end of the series in such a powerful way. Like, everybody was where they needed to be. He set up the end so great. It makes me so sad that he wasn't able to finish the series. Now, don't get me wrong. At least the series was finished. And I'm not here to like crap on Brandon Sanderson's Wheeltime books. I think some of them are great. But I do wish that Robert Jordan was able to finish it with the way he set this up, because I have no doubt he would have delivered in an equally perfect way. That is my top 20 books that I read in 2025, according to me. So these are my 20 favorite that I read in 2025. Again, most of them didn't come out in 2025, but I read them all in 2025 for the first time. No rereads on this list. So let me know down below what you read this year. Let me know if you've read any of the books I've read. Let me know what your favorite books of the year are. Just, I can't wait to hear it. And as always, thanks for watching, and I will be back next week with more.